Hi guys, Johnny, Mr. Forex Fire. So I thought I would come back into the setups for the 4 hour zones and take the opportunity to sort of look at the inside liquidity that we framed up. Okay, so we'll do this and we'll run it through the uh, the 4 hour zones that we set. Okay, so again, I need to set my alerts on here because we are not. We are not we're not saving what it is. So I did this on the other video. So just do this, save it on there. We'll get the message. This is the JSON message. Can't JPY. No, this wasn't saving earlier on. Just going to create that. And then we just need to do the sell. And again, we're just going to copy the webhook. Copy the webhook. We'll then go and get the message for the sell. It's just a code that copies the message over to card JPY. We're looking for a possible sell. So when this triggers, what will happen is it sends this message into the Discord. Okay, so let's take a look at where we are with liquidity and what's happening. So I went over this on the earlier video. Okay, we can see we've got a channel forming. Okay, we've got a channel forming up in here, and it's sort of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So we're very much bullish. Okay, so what we've got inside of the channel, if we bring this a little bit tighter, okay, we're tapping into these areas. So as we constrict a bit further up, okay, we do have from there, if we draw another line here, we are starting to feel to take the top of this. Now, if we do that, it could be for one of two reasons, okay? If we do that, we've got a fair value gap here between the wick and the wick of here. We stretch that out, we did tap into it. So if you minimize that, there's every reason for this to start and not go above here, but to come back down and tap into the fair value, okay? The reason I've got this bull zone here is just simply because it's my last area of true, that's the last point of true mitigation, the LPOTM, okay? So I'll look for a pattern if we come and tap into here. But again, we could just simply be coming to the draw of liquidity on here and then want to focus our attention up here before we start dropping down. So that's what I'm looking at with regards to the liquidity, the plans on the liquidity with regards to the CAD JPY, okay? So I'm just going to get rid of those lines. And what we'll do is we'll come down now into the Euro ORD. So the Euro ORD, we've got it framed up. We've got the highs to the lows here. We were consolidating and then we pushed up high, taking out all of this liquidity here, okay? We then started to come down. We broke below this low here. Okay, so we started making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. As we created the bottom along here and we made the lower low, we then broke the structural liquidity here. So we went from sweeping and then going bearish to then coming into this area and then start to make higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We took into 50% of this swing of this here, okay, and then we tried to break lower from underneath this area and it swept, okay. However, when we look at where the lower high was here, we've swept above that. Right, so if we look closer to the inside of this leg low to this leg high, we can see we've clearly got a fair value gap there. okay? And there's a one above it. So we've got a possible area for a tap into here. So I do believe we may tap into this and then we may go higher, okay? If we look to the left, we can see that's a high there for liquidity for an interest party to go there. But if we trend line that from here down to here, okay, we've got space between this here, okay? Now, to the buy side, okay, when you look to the buy side, you've got all of this space where this liquidity is residing here. You've got all of this here as well, okay? So again, you need to sort of chart out what you're seeing, okay? We've got on the bottom side, on the ultimate bottom side, you've got a double bottom here. So at the moment, what I'm seeing is this here is, let's have a look. See if I can get the right tool. I'll leave that for now. Basically, what we've got, which we are channeling up through here, and we're channeling up through here. This is sort of getting tighter with this here, and I'm like I say, I'm putting too much lipstick on this at the minute. But you can see what I'm getting at with where the liquidity is residing. We had the sweep, we've came down, we channeled down a bit, we had a gap. When we look at this here, we left the gap right here, okay? We made lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Price came back in and it swept this, okay? So as it swept this, and the price was looking as if it was wanting to go lower. However, it didn't go lower because it just came and made a double bottom, which was around about here, okay? And then price started on the inside, like of this high to this low is where we're stuck, okay? So you can see the high down to this low is where we're stuck. And as we've tried to go back bullish, we've left fair value behind here. So I believe we'll push into here, okay? And then we'll go higher. We do have the last point of true mitigation on this particular area for if it does want to push down into here and I get a trigger alert, I'll be looking for a pattern. Okay, so that's where I'm at with this at the moment on the Euro odd. We'll go to the Euro card. It's technically a little bit of the same, to be fair. We take a look. We do have fair value to the outer side, okay? So if we push outside of this area at the moment, I can look for a buy up into here because there's a way we do what we call a violation setup, okay? If we look inside the high to this low, there was fair value gap there, but it got mitigated right here, okay? As it done that, we also had just to the left, we also had liquidity here, which again, it eventually broke down, swept through, and it sort of bottomed out at the bottom here, leaving just above the top a pool of liquidity. We broke above that. As we broke above this liquidity here, you can see there was fair value to this side. It swept into that. So as it swept into that and even tapped into this area here, which is obviously the order block, as it tapped into that, it's tried to come lower, okay? So then it faked out around about this area. It sort of faked out and then it wanted to push higher. As we came down and tapped into the block here, it sort of struggled up in this area. And the reason it struggled up into this sort of area, if we look to the left of that, okay, we've obviously got fair value. So the fair value was here, tapped into it, it came down, and then we have a draw on liquidity with order blocks here and here. And then obviously to the top end, you can see on the Euro card, where I do have the bear zone marked out. This is why I'm saying I'm expecting price to come into here. And then personally, I think it'll tap into this and it'll want to come down. So we just see missed out on that last week. It has reacted slightly from this area, but it didn't quite tap into it. Okay. So when we look at this liquidity stuff, okay, you can see the candle from there up to there. It's in the middle of mitigating into this fair value gap, right? If we look from the low to this high, there is another one right here. So we do have a bit here. Price may want to tap into this and then come down and react and go further to go higher up here. Or we'll come down and we'll start to attack all this liquidity that's left on the lower side, right? So they are the sort of pools I'm looking at the moment. So just going to let this come out. With the Euro USD, let's take a look at this. So again, if we just draw a trend down here, we can do the liquidity along here. So we've come and swept out of this area here. As we came and swept out of this area, look to the left, we can see right here is a fair value. We'll stretch this out. It tapped into that fair value and then it dropped a bit. So when it mitigated into that, it gave around about 40 pips, which was a nice move, okay? However, we are at this stage on this here, we are breaking through that and sweeping it, okay? So we swept through this liquidity right here, which is that there. And if I look to the left just before that, to the low, to the high, I can actually see right here, fair value there as well, okay? So it looks like we're tapping into this. If we come into this, you've got a level part of liquidity on the buy side, okay? So if we tap into this area, which I fully expect, we've got every reason to tap into this, tap into that, hit this, and then come down, okay? To the sell side of this area, what you can see is you've got your trend line liquidity here, okay? So this is like starting to go higher highs, high lows, higher highs, high lows. Took out the fair value. It's swept out of this area here high. It's coming to tap into this area. So I believe we may, if this continues in this direction, we'll tap into this, make a high. We may even do a double top as we swept that. We might struggle at the top of here. But the minute we push above these two bits here, okay, you've got an order block bit here. I have every reason for this to push high, tap into the ultimate area, and then I think we'll push back down. Okay, so that is a small look at the sort of areas I'm looking at, the Euro USD, the GBP AUD. Again, what we're looking at on here, if we look inside the framed area, we can see a lot of action within fair value. So I'm just going to mark these fair values out. We came and swept up through this. Okay, so that got mitigated. We came and tapped up into this. We didn't quite come into the bear zone where I wanted it to go. Okay, inside the leg from the high to where the bull zone low is here. We've swept this liquidity low here. Okay. And as we swept and spiked through it, I thought we might have get a tap down into here, okay? We can see again, if we just look at the level areas of here, it's indecisive, this one, to be fair. So we swept up here, and then if we look from that liquidity there to this liquidity, we've got the low, we've got the high. What is on that inside leg? Well, we can see this fair value. It's tried to tap into it. It did do, so we can lessen that. This fair value here right now, okay, so we could either do that, go lower, tap, and then go higher, or in fact, it might be the opposite where we come in, we tap into this, we might mess around for a bit, and then it may want to go higher to even react from that area there, or it's going to want to push from this and tap into this area here. Okay, so again, I think on the preference of what I'm seeing at this moment in time, I think we are moving down. Okay, so it is struggling. It's came through these levels right here. So it is, for me, very much a bearish area at the moment. Although I do think inside of here is consolidating. We may tap into these fair value gaps or even at the bull zone to come up to tap into this, a higher high, lower low, lower high, lower low. lower high double top, okay, and then obviously I think even if we do come in that bear zone, I think this will continue bearish, right? So that's just a little look at the GBP odd. GBP card, it's going to be pretty much the same, so I'm not going to look at that. The GU, right, so what we got going on here. So we've tapped up through this, we've swept, we've been very much in a downward trend. Okay, if we get this liquidity marker here, we can see we failed to come up to this area. Again, there was a tiny amount of fair value here, which it swept into. Price efficiency in here is pretty tight. So we've got liquidity to that lower side. We've swept up through this area at the moment. There's no price inefficiency here. So for this week, we could be seeing sideways motion. Okay. It's hard to call this one, to be fair, because the only other liquidity I can see to the buy side is this little bit here. So it may be that it wants to consolidate for a bit. It may want to push and then pull down because, like I say, overall, we are coming down in that downward motion. However, if we tap into this, we could come and tap back into this area, knowing that there's liquidity pool here, and then obviously the order block. If it pushes and goes above this, I think then we'll be looking at the top, mess around in these higher areas, and then we might get that continuation down. Okay, so that's a sort of look stuff I'm looking at, and this is just based looking at the 4 hour. Okay, so we've got the GBP GPY again. Let's have a look at this. We've swept above this area here. We've tapped up into what I would class as the order block right here. It's reacting from this right now. What's underneath from where it's went high, high, low, high, 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 low, high, 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 low. Well, we've got double bottoms here as well. We've got price and efficiency, as in there's a small amount of fair value here. Residing just underneath that is that trend line liquidity there. There's no fair values here. So we could see maybe a mess around where we had the gap. We came and filled that through the other week. We haven't quite filled the whole of the gap. So if I minimize that down to that wick and this here, we do have some unfinished business here. So will we get, yeah, mess around in here, maybe get a tap up into here, a tap down into this, which fulfills, and then depending on what the drive is from this high to this low, maybe tap into another fair value gap, and then come back in and tap into where the gap was left in the market, you know. And then after that, we could get a little bit of mess around, tap into the bull zone, and then we could then start going bullish again. So sticking within this range overall. Okay. Well, so that's the thought on the GBP GPY. The USD card would come down the last two. Again, we'll look at the low to the high. What is within this leg? We draw this out. We've got fair value. Again, we've got liquidity residing here. At this moment in time, there's a fair value right here, which it's tapping into at this moment. As it's made the high and it's coming tapped into this, we can see as well, we've got fair value right here again, which my bear zone, I've got an alert set here. So there's every reason for it to come and tap into this fair value. The fair value and the alert is more or less 50% of that right now. So again, we're coming down, we're tapping into the fair value here, and we're trying to push above this area. We've swept above it slightly, and if we look inside of the price action right here, we can see this fair value there as well. Okay, so again, that's a fair value gap. We are starting to tap into it. So will we see a couple of little taps, maybe a push up, a come back down maybe, and then push up into this area? and then get the reaction and get the price coming back down into this fair value bit here. So again, marking down on the price action. Again, we would need to see some consolidation along here, a breakout, sweep back up into the fair value gap here, a range back down. Again, we not known, but if price comes down and breaks to the lower side here, back into the inside leg, it could reach back up into maybe another fair value gap up on this side, but ultimately coming back down into here to rebalance. And then maybe even coming down into this area to then do a huge turn back up. Okay, so again, I'm just going to reset those few paths that I done there. And then finally, I'm going to look at the USD JPY. Okay, so we've got the high to the low. We're looking inside the low to this high here right now. We've got fair value, which was here. It's mitigated fully into it. And as it's done that, we've got liquidity high here. It's come and swept up into it. We didn't quite get the push into my area of interest. I just see I missed out on that. But at the same time, when we got the rejection from here, okay, we've more or less got a double bottom right here. Again, we've got between the low to the high, you've got liquidity residing on this bit here. So as we drove and pushed above this high here, it left behind an order block. So maybe maybe I could shorten this, to be fair, rather than having it on the bigger side, because price here is a good 300 odd pips. So maybe this might be a better option for the USD JPY. And again, I think the government shutdown has come to an end, so it may be that the strength might come back in the dollar for short term. So we could come and tap into this, maybe tap up into that. Okay, get the bear zone, tap into maybe a fair value that goes here. I think for short term, I think the dollar will probably go a little bit bullish, because what we're seeing overall on the picture is a huge movement here, but also we've swept above this here. Okay, so we could be seeing something like that. I mean, if you want to take snapshots, screenshots of everything that I've done, pause the video at any time, go back, watch the video again, and sort of take your snapshots, guys. Okay, but I think as the government's coming back in, we could come back down into these order blocks and liquidity lows, sweep them, and for the short term, we could continue with a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher lows. We sweep back into this area, and then I think we may push that a little bit higher on here. Okay, so that's the overview on the USD JPY. What I'll do is I think I'll continue to do these each week as well. I think it'd be a good addition. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this video, let me know, give me the feedback wherever you're seeing it, okay? And I'll see you all on the next one. I'll see you a bit later.